Since we've been on Earth, man, woman have looked to the stars for their answers. The cosmos, are they going to the planets, the stars? Are they going to help us resolve our love lives, our questions about our lives, our future, our work? There's a fascination there that's gone on for eternity that we've been here. So today, my guest, well, she's Neda Farr, Neda, the astrologer, and she is going to tell us all about the stars, the cosmos, the planets, and how they impact our lives. Hello.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here.
Oh my gosh, I am very excited to learn from you. So let's start here. How'd you come up with this fascination for astrology?
I actually started learning astrology over 10 years ago. I had first heard of the concept through Tumblr back when it was very popular in 2013. I started my social media career on Tumblr and was very much self-teaching astrology, different aspects of it. And I stumbled into Soulmate Astrology a few years later and specialize in that now.
What kind of astrology should you call that?
Soulmate Astrology.
Soulmate. Wow. So we can find our soulmates by understanding the stars better?
Yes, both the stars and your own birth chart.
Uh-huh. Now, you hear people talk about your birth chart, what sign were you born under? What does all that mean?
Basically, the exact moment you were born, your birth chart is a snapshot of the sky of that exact minute that you were born. So whatever was happening in the cosmos when you entered this world is your birth chart.
Mm-hmm. And how do those birth charts vary from person to person? Do any two people have the exact same birth chart?
I think if you're born at the exact same minute, it's very likely you have the same birth chart, but the planets move at such a rapid pace. The moon changes zodiac signs every single day, every single 2 days. So it is very rare for two people that meet to have the same birth chart, but it is possible.
Now, when somebody speaks about astrology, is that an interchangeable term with your zodiac? The zodiac signs?
Yes, your birth chart is comprised of 12 zodiac signs, and a lot of people resonate with their sun sign, which is their birthday.
Aha. So that's only one. Your zodiac is technically only one of your signs within astrology?
Yes, it's a very small piece of the puzzle. If you actually want to know more about your personality and your future, you should be looking at other pieces of your birth chart rather than just your birthday sun sign.
What would be other things someone would look for?
So your moon sign, which is the second thing people most resonate with, is your emotional world, how you process the outwardly things that are hitting you like through your emotions. So basically you can just think of your moon sign as your emotions. Your rising sign is the third thing that people most resonate with, and that is the time you were born. So a lot of people don't know that their rising sign, even though that, in my opinion, is the most important thing in your birth chart because it says your greatest source of joy in life and what motivates you and the first impression you give people when they first meet you.
Wow. So, okay. I know on the zodiac, there are people that say, well, Pisces get along with, let's say, Leos, or I don't know. I'm just taking a guess. So there are different times where people will say this zodiac gets along with this zodiac. How accurate do you think that is? And why?
I think it's very inaccurate because when people look at their sun signs, it's their identities kind of meshing with each other, not the other aspects of your personality, like your love language, your communication. All of those other personality traits are ruled by different zodiac signs in your birth chart. So when you just look at your identities, that's kind of like the lowest thing that you guys are going to be compatible in. So every time I do compatibility reading between two people, whether it's romantic or friendship, I look at more of their Mars sign and their rising sign. In looking at compatibility, I never look at just the sun sign.
Now, how is it determined that certain sun signs or certain astrological equations, for lack of a better word, are more compatible with others?
It's something in astrology called aspects, which is like trines. It's the different degrees that zodiac signs interact with each other, and it's the different elements that they're in. So, for example, Sagittarius and Leo always really get along both in friendship and in romance because they're both fire signs. So usually In compatibility, I like to say that fire signs should be together, all water signs should be together, and then earth and air signs should be together, and vice versa.
Okay, so what would be the categories within each? What are the earth signs, the air signs, the fire signs, and the water signs?
So the fire signs are Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. The water signs are Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. The air signs are Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. And then the earth signs are Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo.
What are the similarities between those signs that make them earth signs or water signs? What draws them together and categorizes them like that? Because they're
I will
obviously
say
during different times of the calendar.
it is, well, they're not usually clumped in the same times of the calendar, surprisingly. It's more of like the personality traits that kind of makes them in that same element. But I would say that when we like to generalize about the elements, it is very true for that specific zodiac sign. But in your birth chart, sometimes it doesn't make sense because, for instance, if you're a Leo sun, like your birthday is in Leo, but you have a stellium, which is a huge cluster of like the same zodiac sign in water, then you are going to more act like a water sign than your birthday Leo. The personality traits are very distinct of each sign, but sometimes you don't resonate with them because in reality, your birth chart says a lot more of a different story than just one sun sign. So for the fire signs, they're usually way more outgoing. They are very fiery by nature, where they are very passionate, headstrong, and confident. For water signs, they are ruled by the moon and intuition and their emotions and feelings. So they are way more divinely guided by their inner thoughts and intuition. For the earth signs, they're very grounded and practical. So they usually think before they act.
Mhm.
For the air signs, they're very hard to pin down, very much like the air, where they can be scatterbrained, they can be pulled in different directions, but it's just for the love of life and wanting to experience as many different areas and avenues and paths as possible.
Now, when people come to see you, Neda, and they say, I've met, I think, the love of my life, but I want you to confirm that for me, what would you say to that person?
I usually, when I have someone approach me and ask if the person they are with is their soulmate, more than likely the answer is usually no. Because if you are completely with your soulmate, you know that. And you don't need external advice from the stars in knowing that. And just looking at their two birth charts usually just confirms that. I wish I could say most of the time that my clients are already with their soulmate, but usually that's not the case.
Uh-huh. Now, how do you define a soulmate?
It is very complex astrology where we look into your houses and aspects just as much as the compatibility in your birth chart.
Mhm.
But basically, I handmade an algorithm of looking at your Mars sign, your rising sign, and like how that connects to their birth chart. And I go deeper and look at the actual aspects between two people, which is the different degrees between the zodiac signs in their two charts.
Now, do you read someone's chart, let's say, and encourage them what they should be looking for in another person? How does
Yes.
that work?
That is the reading that I do the most is my soulmate reading, where I just look at your birth chart and tell you the exact zodiac chart of your soulmate, which if I give you their entire zodiac chart, you can see every facet of their personality. And I also tell you how you'll meet them, when you'll meet them, where your soulmate is from. All of those things are answered by your own birth chart, and it's much more complex than you can just do it on your own. It's something that I have to do my research on every birth chart. And I really love knowing a person's birth time because that gives much more information than just knowing your birthplace and birthday.
You know, it's so funny. I always knew when our kids were out at a bar or talking with someone new, and they'd call me up or text me and say, Mom, can you remind me of the exact time I was born and what hospital was it or where was it? I'm like, matching zodiac signs, eh?
Yeah,
Looking
yeah.
out for astrology charts with someone. So, okay. So someone comes to you and like, do you ever say, okay, well, I know you live in Los Angeles or Milwaukee or Chicago. You're going to find your love sign in Paris.
hmm
Does that happen?
Yeah, it's a different reading called Astrocartography, which you put in your information, birthday, birth time, and birthplace. in a tool called the Astrocartography map, and it shows you different lines throughout the entire globe that activate different parts of your zodiac chart. So, for instance, if you wanted to know where you should move for your career and how to have more success in career, that reading will tell you that. And it also tells you where you could meet your soulmate all over the world. It's like a huge line, so you can choose the different cities on that line to move to get that energy.
Is there only one soulmate that person's looking for? Or is it a type of person that you could find in these areas that are more likely to have more of that kind of person for you?
So I actually do my soulmate readings where I give you two options for each planet zodiac sign. So, like, I give you two different sun signs that are your soulmate.
Mhm.
And this is because I look at so many different factors of your birth chart that it ends up having more options than you think. But the trick is that you have to actually like find someone with the same combination of the two that I give you. So it's two for every 12 planet. So there's a bunch of different soulmates that you could have, but the hard part is actually finding that person that has their moon sign in this and their sun sign in this. So it does end up looking like a lot of options, but it's very much hard to find someone that fits that mold.
Now, from your perspective, could someone lead a happy, compatible life with someone who didn't match up as their stars?
In my experience, obviously, a lot of people can live their life with that person. And I just feel like you always think something's missing because there is one personality trait that doesn't align in every way. It's
Mhm.
very, very hard to compromise two evolved zodiac signs that are on different life paths.
Mhm.
So if you guys don't align in your moon signs, for instance, your emotions are never going to be on the same page. No
Mhm.
matter how hard you try, like it's just instinctively difficult to make that happen. So I encourage people, if you only have like 4 soulmate placements with that person, I encourage them to keep trying and to keep looking because a lot of people do find someone with like 8 matching soulmate placements and they are extremely happy for their entire lives.
Mhm.
The best compatibility that I do is 11. If you have 11 out of 11 soulmate placements, then you found them. You don't ever have to look anymore. You never have to worry about anything between compatibility with that person.
That sounds like you're really narrowing your dating pool.
Yes. That is the whole point of astrology is to date with more intention.
Date with intention. What are examples of characteristics, or like if you're looking at a chart and someone's saying, well, what might be the question? I'm trying to find my soulmate. So you are doing their chart, and are you doing an imaginary chart for someone else, or in that person's chart, is it giving you information based on what you're searching?
Exactly. It's the latter one where if I look at your chart, I know exactly who your soulmate is because it's all written there and I just have to do my math, basically just spitting out like the two most compatible for each planet of your soulmate. And I also like to deep dive into the characteristics of each planet and zodiac sign that your soulmate has. So uh, I tell them their love language that you should be looking for when dating, the communication style you should be looking for when dating, even like the intimacy style that you should look for when dating. And when you know the personality traits of each of those sectors of their personality, it makes dating so much easier because you know what's most compatible for you that you should be looking for. So you're not like wondering what kind of person I should end up with. It's more of finding that blueprint that I already laid out for you and going into every date knowing like you deserve a person that has this communication style.
Hmm.
It just makes dating so much easier in my opinion.
Now, if someone goes out and they meet someone, and are they mentally checking off what you have told them in their chart?
I don't think so. I think it's that once you know what you're looking for, the universe presents that person to you. It just
Mhm.
kind of like you have tunnel vision where everything else fades away. You don't even consider other options to be romantically compatible with you because you know what you're looking for. And the universe, like, very much provides that to you quickly. An example is I did my own soulmate reading 3 years ago, and I learned so much about the person I should be looking for. And only weeks after doing my own soulmate reading is when I found my soulmate. And we've been together for 3 years now. And it just would not have happened unless I did that reading on myself to know like who I should actually be looking for.
Now, just out of curiosity, when did you met this
Mhm.
man, and you started saying, check, he's got that. He's relating to me this way. I'm feeling that that's another check mark. You're noticing all these check marks. At some point, did you say, I think we need to do a reading on you?
I did not do a reading on him for like 2 months. So I constrained myself. No, but I think like it was more of just opening up
Yeah.
more than I would with someone else, because I did see the personality traits that I should be looking for in him when dating. So I like felt comfortable to open up more and like feel safe, I guess. And it was just because I knew like his communication style and intimacy and all that stuff. It was like so compatible in what I should be looking for that I just felt more safe. And things just came naturally after that.
So, kind of what I'm hearing is from your perspective, this is a good thing for someone to do for themselves so they can understand what's important to them, what motivates them, what makes them feel secure, what makes them feel that they could open up and be intimate with someone.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's not something easily done on yourself. I think, like, you would have to come to me or some other soulmate astrologer because it can get so messy if you try to do it on yourself, only doing it with, like, the sun sign or the moon sign. I don't do compatibility between 2 of the same planet. Like, I never do moon sign compatibility only. When I'm looking at your soulmate's moon sign, I'm looking at your Mercury sign, you know? So it's not the same planet compatibility. I'm looking at other aspects of your chart.
Why?
Because I do think that, like, your communication style has more of an effect on their emotional world than, like, your emotional world having an effect on their emotional world. I
Hmm.
think there are different parts of your personality that trigger different parts of their personality. So,
Hmm.
instead, you do wanna look at each zodiac sign defining that part of yourself to see what triggers, like, the parts of themselves. So, when I'm looking at their rising sign, their source of joy, I'm looking more at, like, your drive for life in your Mars sign than, like, anything else, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What are things you warn people to be wary of when they're looking at astrology or trying to determine a soulmate or their lives and using the stars to determine this and the planets?
I think that a lot of people that don't have their birth time are going to use their birth chart for their future, which is the wrong way to do astrology because your houses, that's another part of your birth chart that has 12 of them, 12 houses. That's the part of your birth chart that explains your future. It explains
Hmm.
your past, present, and future. So is requiring your birth time. So I think a lot of people like base their whole lives on that and they have like the wrong birth time. And then that would be bad for your career and like what you actually should be doing and how you'll get money and all that stuff. So unless you have your birth certificate, I feel like you should not play around with that at all.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I remember doing a birth chart one time, years ago, and I couldn't remember if it was 6:18 AM or PM. Needless,
Yeah.
first one wrong, and we had to redo it.
Yeah, it's honestly, like, crazy how different things are. I've seen people
It
crash out
was funny to
online.
compare the differences once they were done.
Yeah, it's very and, like, people have come to me saying, like, "Oh my god, please redo it. It's actually PM," and it paints, like, a whole different story for their future, so don't mess around with it unless you know
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Now, how do you think the general horoscopes, if someone's reading their horoscope in the newspaper, how that aligns with what you do or doesn't align at all?
So the ones like online and in the newspaper, it is based off your rising sign birth time one. So
Hmm.
for instance, if they say like Aries, it's activating this part of your life this month. We have like a full moon activating your career this month. That's actually a horoscope for Aries rising. And newspapers never really put that because people don't know their birth time, so they wanted to generalize it. But it actually is based off your houses and it's the whole sign system. So if your career is being activated that month, it's because your career house is being activated under the full moon for an Aries rising. It's definitely a little complicated for people that don't know about the houses, but each of the 12 houses represents 12 different parts of your life. So there's money, career, love, marriage, all of those are represented by a different house.
Where did this all come together? Was it the Greeks, the Romans, the Indians, the Chinese, one of the early cultures, and then it all gets pieced together by a lot of people? Or what's the history of where this comes from?
Astrology is actually just the study of history. It's the study of patterns. So I think astrology was created way before the Greeks and Romans and all that stuff because we already had that information during those time periods. And they already fully knew the patterns that we know from astrology. And that requires like hundreds of years of history. When a planet is in a zodiac sign like Pluto and Aquarius that a lot of people talk about, that's the pattern of Pluto being in Aquarius for the past 5,000 years because Pluto's in one zodiac sign for every 20 years. So the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was in 1750, like 2 centuries ago. So we know what's going to happen during this Pluto in Aquarius because of what happened back in like 1750.
Now, have you ever read someone's birth sign and thought something's off here?
I feel like that's the common fear people have. They're like, what's wrong with me? Like, what's preventing me from getting to my goal from my birth chart? Like the universe has to be working against me. And I think that's a question that I get a lot.
I would bet.
But the thing is, a lot of the times it is true. There is something in your birth chart that's like, there is going to be pressure in this area of your life. You're going to have to learn a lot of harsh life lessons. But the reason that it's there is because you are meant to learn that lesson and be evolved from it. It's kind of like your life path to master that part of your life. So it is kind of a comforting feeling knowing like, yes, there is something in the universe that is preventing me from getting this thing. And I have to master that part of my life to get that thing. And astrology can tell you what to do to master it. And that does help in a lot of cases, especially in career and money and all of that stuff.
Now, where do you think karma?
Karma is a huge factor because we have unevolved zodiac signs and we have evolved zodiac signs where a lot of immature men that you're dating, it's just because they haven't like mastered the things that they're meant to master in their birth chart. And
Could we say the same thing for immature women?
yes, definitely.
I like to be fair on this show. We have a 50-50 audience.
Yeah, and honestly, most of the time it's because women have a lot of unevolved placements in their chart too, that they need to learn those karmic patterns to become the highest and brightest version of themselves in that area of their life. So like there's a big meme of Pisces men are just the worst. Like they always cheat on you, all of that stuff. And it's because unevolved Pisces tend to cheat. So an evolved Pisces would never do that because they've learned their demons and like mastered them. But there are traits associated with unevolved and evolved zodiac signs.
So that would be more related on the karma theme.
Yes. It's the karma, I feel like, is just patterns you have to repeat until you break the cycle.
Now, you said evolved and unevolved. Are there, of the 12 zodiac signs, are any of those generically more evolved than others? Or is it all the other aspects within them that make them more evolved?
I think like I was saying earlier with earth signs, they're more grounded. Usually you always start out unevolved. There's always things you have to learn, but they have a tendency to learn them faster. They're more disciplined. So it's rare to see someone like very past the development of their life to be unevolved in like an earth sign, but it happens sometimes. And it is those same lessons that they have to learn to really master that. But I would say like for Capricorns, for instance, Capricorns are not usually unevolved because their whole drive for life is being step by step. We're going to check off the boxes in our ambition and we're going to follow a path, and that's just how they move through life. So they're more evolved, I feel like, than other zodiac signs.
Now, have you ever handed someone their chart and they've said, "No, I think you mixed this up. This is somebody else's"?
I have had that happen. Yes. And it's hard because a lot of the tools online say different things, and that's like, if you use an app that isn't using real astrology, then it's going to spit out the wrong birth chart. And I think a
Uh-huh.
lot of people have been seeing that. And it really does mess with them because it's not true to their actual personalities and stuff. It's trying to be someone you're not.
That's an interesting point. Do you think people are their astrology signs, or do you think they reverse merge themselves into them when they learn more, which could be a growth process? I mean, that
I
could
don't
be positive or negative.
I really don't feel like people can be who they're not in their birth chart. Like, if you
Uh-huh.
think that you're an Aries, but you're actually a Libra, like, you're not gonna act like an Aries just because you think you are. Because, I mean, that's just not your blueprint. That's just not how you're built and not how you're moving through your life path. I do think if people are taking it too seriously and too far, then they could start acting a little out of their comfort zone. And that's just not what they're meant to do.
Now, can we talk about Mercury going into retrograde?
Wow.
I
My
search
favorite
that. Every
topic.
time things start to get crazy, I go to that, I type that line into the internet. It brings me up on some chart and it says, no, sorry, you'll have to blame something else.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Oh my god. Mercury retrograde, it really the reason it's so famous is because it hits all of us very, very hard. Like, there's a reason that we know Mercury retrograde shakes things up, you know?
Are there any other planetary movements or star movements we should all be watching out for at
I
different
do
times of the year?
that I think every planet d goes into retrograde pretty frequently. So, if there's an aspect of your life that's kind of getting all messy and chaotic, more than likely that planet that rules that area of that life of your life is in retrograde. Like, Pluto just went into retrograde 2 days ago, and that's just pulling us all inward for a few months where we start noticing patterns of obsession and the cracks in our internal foundation that need to be worked on. So anytime a planet goes retrograde, it just wants you to like fix that area of your life a little more. So Mercury going retrograde, communication gets all screwed up. You talk to your exes, and that's because Mercury wants you to fix communication when it goes retrograde. It wants you to fix these things in your subconscious and in your outward communication. So that's a huge time for people to talk to their exes and for
Well,
technology to go crazy. It's just refining the system to make it better and better.
what I'm hearing from you is no matter whether someone believes in astrology or not, it's an interesting self reflection mode to take a good look at your personality, whether it's coincidental that these things happened, or whether it's based on the stars, or it's what you believe, or that it gives you a guidepost to navigate.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly what astrology should be used for. It should be a self reflection and a guide for your relationships with other people. Like,
Mhm.
in friendships, I love when people use my app Starcrossed to actually add their friends and see the different facets of their personality, like love languages. That's a huge one in friendships. You want to see how your friend gives and receives love. And I think everyone should be using it as a tool to just understand their relationships more.
So that's pretty fascinating. So you have an app that someone can use and log in. Are they logging in their birth signs? What are they logging in?
So my app I created for to do my soulmate reading on your birth chart, including all of my other readings. Basically, you just enter your birthday, your birthplace, and your birth time if you know it. And I do my soulmate reading on your chart where I say your soulmate's entire zodiac chart. You can add your friends. And we're launching a huge redesign in a couple weeks that does way more readings and tarot and manifestation. All of that fun stuff is going to be added to my app Starcrossed in just a few short weeks.
Now, does anybody ever do their reading and say, oh my God, I got to go break up my relationship now? I have to end it. I have to change my life. I have to leave my career. I have to move to a new country.
Mhm.
Do people have drastic, well, people are crazy sometimes. So I'm sure there are some people, but we all have a bit of crazy.
Yeah.
But what's the reaction when somebody sees something that maybe they didn't expect?
It is. I love when people actually do the thing that I tell them to do because it's like there are so many cracks in the foundation when you like if you come to me saying my baby daddy just cheated on me and I want to know if I should go and try again with him. I feel like he's my soulmate. I'm always like, no, he's not your soulmate. And it's because I like see it in their birth chart. Like, you guys are not soulmates. You're karmic, you're twin flame, you're everything else but a soulmate. And I love when they come to me 6 months later and they're like, you changed my life. Like, I would never have taken that leap if I didn't know from the stars that I was meant to. It's just like a validation tool that you're not crazy. Like, you're not going crazy. It is literally written that you shouldn't be with this person and they're triggering different parts of you. So I love when my clients come back 6 months later and they're like, I made the leap and I moved to that new country because in my astrocartography reading, you said I would find love there, or you said I would find confidence there. And like, my life is never the same because of that.
That's fascinating. What what would be these always go too fast, Neda. So what would be your closing advice before checkout your app, of course, which there will be all kinds of links below, everybody, see for you to get. But what would be your number one advice as an astrologer to someone who's just thinking about what we just talked about during this episode?
I would say to not be afraid to use astrology as a tool. I think the reason people are so into it and like it is so famous of a concept is because it has changed people's lives in the best way to align with the path you're meant to follow. If you are ever confused, if you are ever feeling lost, astrology is there to help you find the things you are meant to do in this life. So I would say do not be scared to use it as a tool. And I have all of those readings for you on the Starcrossed app if you're ever feeling confused. Usually the answer is right there in your birth chart. So you can download Starcrossed, the app that I created.
That is wonderful. Oh my gosh, there's so many fun questions to ask.
Yeah.
But my audience has said they like to keep the timing of these to somewhere down below 45 minutes so they can get on a treadmill, listen, and then get off. So there are going to be all kinds of links to follow you because this was a lot of fun. It was very informative. You've got my mind percolating. I'm going to download your app just because what an experience. I'm all for experiences in life. And now I know the actual time of my birthday.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll get it right this time.
Yeah. It was so great to be here and answering your questions and just chatting with you. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Everybody, I'm Dian Griesel. This is the SilverDisobedience Perception Dynamics podcast. There are going to be all kinds of links to Neda the Astrologer below here. You know, if you come to the main page, wherever you're listening to this podcast from. And I do hope you follow her, check out what she's doing, check out her app. It sounds pretty interesting and fun to me. And who knows, might even have some interesting answers for us all about our present and future and past. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I am moving over to the green room with Neda. Please hit subscribe, everybody, and share this episode.